Well, we have an interesting topic today, so get your snacks, get your beverages, and sit down as we talk about the indoctrination into our schools. So this video goes out really to parents, because if you don't know, hi, my name's Katie, I'm 36 and I don't have any children, but this video is going to focus on the indoctrination of our school children, my age, people above me, and people below me. I really want to find out what our education system is teaching our children these days, because, hey, I left school 25 years ago. So within that time, I have no idea what sort of education that our kids are receiving these days. And I'm really interested in it because I'll tell you why. When I left school, those of you that have watched my previous videos will know, but I didn't actually go into further education. I just went to work in the big wide world. And I personally feel because of that, I started to learn more about the real world as opposed to what they had taught us in school. And there's a lot of nuances to it, but I started to research into history and things around the world, that I found interesting. And it was then that I started to realize that, holy shit, we were taught a very different way. And I didn't know what the word was back then, what indoctrination was. I just knew that I felt there was this, I guess, category of education that would be fed to us and to those of you who are maybe much older than me as well. So you would have had your own category of education fed to you, right? And I suppose throughout the years it does get changed. And so this lead me to wonder, really, has there been any change in the last 25 years? Like, what now is the blueprint of indoctrination that they're telling our kids? Because let's not kid around, okay? Let's not kid around. We all know that school is indoctrination, okay? And if you don't know, so I've known this for a very long time, and I know a lot of you have too. And one of the reasons that I struggled with wanting to have children of my own is because of one of these very reasons. I knew I was never going to have enough money to be able to send my child to a private school or, homeschool. I ain't that smart, no way. So there was no way that I could do these things, right? And I'd planned this out in my head. I wasn't just going to go and get pregnant, have a kid and deal with it. Like, that wasn't me. I was a very smart teenager. I was very smart and very safe, if you get what I mean, because I really didn't want that future for my child. So roll on now to 25 years, and the amount of information that we have available now because of the internet, right? Because again, I was born in the 80s, okay? So I was born in 88, and, the internet was pretty much born in early 90s, and we would start to slowly be introduced to it. My era, arguably, is kind of one of the first era that grew up with, Windows 95 and floppy disks and things like that. So when that change of technology happened and we were opened up to this incredible world of information and difference of, I wouldn't say opinion, but a different outlook on things because of things that have been researched and uncovered, For example, there are megalithic structures that have now been uncovered since I was in school. To be specific, I was actually 6 when the Göbekli Tepe in Turkey was discovered. And so I understand that I was too young at that age for that kind of history to come in. But my question is, again, to you parents, if you know, are they teaching this in history now? Are they also saying, hey, by the way, the pyramids, yeah, cool. But there's also this massive megalithic structure that's arguably one of the oldest in the world. It double dates Stonehenge. It's incredible. It's like a civilized Right, so I'll quickly just tell you, just in case you don't know, there's a huge megalithic structure in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe that was discovered, and it's a huge discovery because in this day and age, 12,000 years ago, man was only thought to be hunter and gatherer. Yet here we have this incredible structure that has been put together meticulously with, you know what, I'm going to slam up a picture right here. So this is Göbekli Tepe. And I want to know, are we teaching our kids this? Because it's a huge discovery, and I only know this now in my adult life, and only if there are adults like me who have kids that are teaching their kids this, right? Another thing that I wanted to ask about history, again, the pyramids, I'm just going to say it. We were taught a very, very boxed version of the pyramid history. Not once did I ever remember my school telling me that there were actually these pyramid structures all over the world. Yes, the Giza pyramids are incredible and one of the most unbelievable structures and arguably something we don't know about, right, in the world. But there are others as well that we never got taught. All I remember, and I'm not even kidding you, all I remember from those sort of lessons is the slaves built the pyramids and Moses parted the Red Sea. That's all I can tell you. Are we still teaching this to kids? Or are we actually saying, hey, by the way, we've actually done more research and the Sphinx is probably older than we initially thought because of the water erosion, or, you know, even if it's not categorically like, I suppose if it's not mainstream, it's not being taught, right? And that's what I have a problem with, the indoctrination with the mainstream education that was infused into me. When there is so much more to be taught to these kids. But I also think, and like, obviously, you know, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I also feel that teachers nowadays are also being blocked from giving that child more creativity, giving them more of a different outlook on something. Because I remember there was only a handful of teachers, and I mean 2 or 3 teachers, that were quote unquote cool. You know, where they were a little bit more relaxed. They weren't so Nazi at you, because we did have some Nazi teachers, mate. And you could tell those are the ones that were working for the board. Those were the ones that got the brownie points because they did everything by the book. You know, they didn't give the kid the break if the kid needed special attention. They didn't understand it, like back in my day. But there were some teachers that did that. And I'll tell you what, they didn't last long. They did not last long. And it's a shame because those are the teachers that I remember. Obviously, you remember the hard bitches and bastards that are there, like, but I remember the cool teachers that would come and try and like have us strategize more, like use our brain more and not just be fed, like I said, this category of indoctrination that just everybody has, like the blueprint of indoctrination at schools. And it's like, there you go. And then it gets changed maybe slightly, but is it changed at the point where kids are learning more about real shit? Like another one, and I know there's going to be like, oh, conspiratorial people, but I really did enjoy science, right? When I was in my classes, I enjoyed science. Particularly, I really liked the periodic table. Don't know why, couldn't tell you why, but I just really did like the periodic table. And I used to be pretty good at remembering all of your shortcuts, you know, and all that. Don't ask me now. But this is why I bring it up, because those of you who may know this name will know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, feel free to research it. Yes, it's a conspiracy, but oh my word. It's only conspiracy until it's conspiracy fact, right? So, Bob Lazar, element 115. Is this seen as a genuine element on the periodic table? Or if not, are we being taught it? Are we teaching children about this? And I don't mean like, you know, primary school and things like that, but in higher education where our brains can handle it, is this being filtered through? Is there something where they're like, yo, this is the periodic table, but actually we've also found this, right? Because there were two Russian scientists, I believe, that were able to isotope it. And I'm just wondering if we are putting these things on the education board for kids to learn about. God bless my mum. She was ill when I was growing up. She had something called ME. I still don't really understand what it was, but it meant that she was incredibly tired. She had fatigue all the time. So I would wake myself up in the morning, get ready, get dressed, have my own breakfast, and say goodbye to my mum who's on the sofa asleep. So I know that my mum, bless her, wasn't able to give me the alternative education that I craved. Because as soon as I left school and I started researching shit, I was just sucked it all up. And I still do now. I absolutely love documentaries. I'm much more of a visual learner or a lectoral learner. You know, I will watch somebody, and I've learnt so much since leaving school that if I did have a kid, best believe when they come back from school, I'd be like, right, what did they teach you today in X, Y, and Z? Okay, we're going to go over the alternative X, Y, and Z so that you know the full circle, right? And I know that there are parents out there that probably do this because, Lord, let me tell you, I ain't even going to get into like the woke shit that they do in the schools. Like, can't get into it because I'm not even a parent. But that angers. So I can't even talk about that. But we know that it happens. And look, that didn't happen when I was around, obviously. You know, this is all brand new. But the actual indoctrination of our kids, has it changed? Is it different? I don't know. I would like to know. Please let me know. I know this is a hardcore one, and I know, you know, there's a lot of randomness in there with obviously Bob Lazar and the pyramids and Göbekli Tepe, but I'm coming to you with a raw feeling, right? Because the more research I do in my life and the more things that we find out about like the world as well, right? The more that comes to fruition, the more that it just makes me go, are we teaching this? Or are we still in that blueprint indoctrination circle of information that just gets thrown out to every... Like, I don't know what the US education is like. Obviously, you guys get taught probably the basics of the same, you know, English, maths, science. These are always going to stay the same, you know, how to add up, long division. Why do we need to know long division, by the way? When have you ever needed long division? We don't need it now because all you need to do is ask an AI or do, you know, I don't even know how to do it on the calculator. So I just ask AI now. So we're in this time where it's like, do we really need to teach kids that? Or should we be teaching kids about, you know, entrepreneurial ways in which to go? Because, mate, when I was in school, the last thing I'm going to say is, again, when I was in school, you got taught you will do this job, you can do that job, you can do this job. There was never any, you can start your own business. There was never any, hey, you could do this, or if you feel creative and there's a way that you are able to do this yourself. Like, nobody ever taught me I could make things and sell it to people. No one in my school ever taught me, like, anything of that matter. Like, I have always been that person who I went and washed cars as a kid, you know, around my neighbourhood, bucket and water with soap, knocking on people's doors. Hey, would you like a car wash for £5? That was me. But none of my schools ever taught me that way of thinking. You know, it was just, go to school, learn a lesson, like whatever you guess excel in a little bit, maybe take that further. But even then, I wouldn't have lasted because I didn't last. I'm so sorry for the randomness, but like I say, it's been 25 years, mate, since I've been in any sort of education. So please let me know. What is happening with the kids these days? Has it got better? Is it getting worse? What's happening?